Welcome to Growing Belleville Through Community Chats, a podcast presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to help highlight, promote, and enlighten people, businesses, and community events in the Greater Belleville area. Here are your hosts, Stephen Sedlak and Eric Huber.
Welcome back to another edition of Growing Belleville Through Community Chats presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce. I'm your co-host, Stephen Sedlak, along with Mr. Eric Huber. How are we, Eric?
Doing well, Stephen. Doing well. Leaves are starting to change, and cold weather is hitting us right now.
Yep, football season's out there. It's definitely fall.
Absolutely.
Well, we have Scott Schmelzel. Did I get that right, Scott?
You did. Outstanding work.
Yes, I've been practicing. From Big Daddy 618 and Sean Martin. How are you guys today?
Fantastic.
Outstanding. Thanks for having us on I don't know, do we call this a program, a show? This is very high tech for Big Daddy.
We can call it whatever the heck you want to call it, Scott.
I appreciate that. Usually whenever there's a camera involved like this, it's somebody looking for some footage at Big Daddy. So this is nice just to be talking fun stuff for you.
A different change of pace for you, right?
Yeah. Thanks for having us. I've never met Eric and Steve. I know you've been a customer at Big Daddy's here for quite some time during the lunch hour. We'll call it during your state required 1 hour lunch hour. We appreciate you coming up to Big Daddy's, being a customer for a long time.
Oh, I was there long before the lunch hour days. I was there back in the days. Back in the mid 2000s or so, the later evening hours per se. But I've gotten a little older these days.
Yeah. I didn't want to talk about the.
So anyway, let's kind of. Well, I appreciate that. Well, let's kind of hop into it. Kind of give a quick rundown, breakdown, and you guys introduce yourselves a little bit more, kind of what you guys do. And I know kind of a little bit about Big Daddy's a little bit, but let's go from there.
All right. This is Sean Martin with me. Sean's been our general manager here at Big Daddy 618 for 16 years. So he's got a long tenure with us. Big Daddy's has been downtown for 18 years. We opened in April of 2005. As you guys remember, in 2005, Belleville Main Street, downtown Belleville had a different look. It wasn't quite as vibrant as it is now. So in 18 years, downtown Belleville looks outstanding. The commerce is being promoted at a high level, and downtown is great. And I would like to say that Big Daddy's was in on the start of it back in 2005, and we've watched a lot of these places grow. I believe we were, as it stands right now, only one or two bars were on the Main Street district before we got here, and we've been thrilled to be here for 18 years. I grew up in Belleville, so I went to Whiteside, went to Belleville East, so I'm a Warrior, Lancer, and a Belleville product all the way through, and Sean's from Troy, but Sean's lived in Belleville all his life, and we're all about promoting Belleville and bringing dollars to the downtown district, and that's what we do.
I think that's a good point, talking about how Belleville, downtown, Main Street, and all that, it has changed over the last 20 some odd years. So our original office used to be where Wine Tap is now, which of course has turned into something else. But, we moved out of there back in 98, 99, somewhere around that, to where we're at now, just because downtown, it was kind of bleak. It was kind of dying. And I think the resurrection of downtown is fabulous. I think it's done a great job over the last 20 years or so to really bring people back downtown, because it is a unique setting that not a lot of, especially newer towns these days, don't really have. So I think that's a good point. And you guys are probably the longest tenured, if not one of the longest tenured, bar and restaurants downtown, correct?
Yeah. Certainly. We are 18 years. I would say we're the longest tenured bar restaurant downtown. When what started us moving here was the success of Big Daddy's in Soulard, which was a downtown district. Me and my partner Jim Sinovic grew up on the east side, so we wanted to bring it here, and it took off. And after, for a while, we were kind of like the Lone Ranger down here, and then a couple years after that, Sevens came along, Sevens Lounge. Of course, Tavern on Main, which anchors downtown here, an outstanding spot. Benny's Pizza Pub opened up more recently in the old St. Louis Bed Company. We know Renee at Copper Fire opened up a corner spot there and is doing well. Ronnie Phillips opened up an outstanding event space called Spaces, and he's been doing a lot of weddings and stuff like that. Margaritas has been doing well. So really, downtown has been doing great. Retail's hanging in there as well. Times are different for retail. Everybody gets things delivered and what have you, but we do have some great retail shops downtown. So yeah, downtown's been awesome. One thing that's a little bit different from our downtown than others, we have the Big Daddy's in Edwardsville that cranks, doing great business up in Edwardsville. And Soulard, the Big Daddy's, does well there also. Downtown Belleville, you will see more street dining, like in front of Tavern on Main, in front of the Quarter, in front of Copper Fire, in front of Sevens, Benny's, Margaritas. You'll drive through downtown and you'll see people out on the streets eating and drinking safely in a safe environment. The Belleville Police Department has done an unbelievable job in keeping the district safe, considering the amount of volume that's come downtown. So, yeah, downtown's been great, whether it be the festivals, Chili Cook-Off,
Right.
Oktoberfest. St. Patrick's Day has turned into just a monstrous one-day event that rivals Mardi Gras. So, yeah, downtown's been kicking it, and it's been safe, and it's been fun, and it'll stay like that through the end of the year, and everything's great, and that's really what's going on downtown.
I think I want to touch on the point of the restaurants and sitting outside, in front, everybody's got the spaces in front of it. I think that is what really makes the atmosphere really what it is. There's a lot of areas and towns that have a lot of good restaurants, right? They don't all have the outside seating. It's just, you can walk down the street and there's just a vibe to it that is hard to find other places. And I think that outdoor dining just kind of brings everything kind of together.
Correct. And it's not easy to do. The streetscape, the city has been great in working with the local businesses. You'll see in front of a lot of them, they're called bump outs, where there really wasn't a patio, but the city extended the sidewalks, ADA compliant, of course, and made seating areas in front of restaurants, and it is visible, and it is very festive. The pub crawls we have downtown have been it's close. You can walk from one spot to another, and you feel safe. And I've seen you at a couple pub crawls. I've seen your game, and we always appreciate when you guys come downtown. But the downtown dining is cool, and that has been something that is different from everywhere. Like some people like to mention Central West End. You will see that in the Central West End a lot, but that is something that is unique for sure. Downtown is the outside dining. You can hear music in a lot of places. Like we have live music. Downtown Belleville's become a little bit more of a hot spot for live music, something we never had in the past. So that's something that's hot downtown. So we're proud of that. All the businesses are involved. We work pretty well together, both the retailers and the bars and restaurants. We meet. We're on a couple text feeds like most places are. We have a downtown. Me and you have talked about the Belleville Main Street Committee. It's a group of merchants. Most places like this have a merchants group, whether it be Belleville Main Street or a United Merchants group that tries to stay together on doing things like pub crawls, events, whether it be a charity-driven thing or a profit-driven thing. We've been strong in communicating with one another, and it's paying off for sure.
Scott, you mentioned that the Belleville Main Street, and obviously Stephen and I have had a couple other business owners on this podcast, downtown Belleville, and I know you have some different locations as well. But what is there something that kind of sets apart, or you like different in Belleville versus maybe a downtown Edwardsville, business owner group? What is it about Belleville you like, enjoy? Is it working with the mayor? Is it working with the city, the different owners? I just feel, I grew up in Belleville as well. The vibe down there is just unbelievable, and it's changed drastically. So just wanted to get your input on, kind of what sets downtown Belleville apart from other places. Okay,
good question. The biggest factor in in moving Big Daddy's to Belleville was the fact that Soulard was doing, and we were having great success in Soulard. My partner, Jim Sinovic, I mentioned, ran the Soulard Big Daddy's, and it became quite a hot spot. A lot of people from Belleville, because Jimbo and I both went to Belleville East. So our roots here in Belleville is what brought the product. We had a lot of people from Belleville because the district 20 years ago was not like it is now. Downtown Belleville, you guys have seen it. You were a part of the movement. We were doing great in Soulard. So Jimbo and I, being lifelong friends since we were freshman year in high school, thought that downtown Belleville would be a good spot. And at that time, quite honestly, there were question marks about downtown Belleville. There was nothing in Belleville downtown that was very successful. So we believed in it. We were lucky to buy a spot at 313 East Main that had a patio that had great potential. So we invested in downtown really because we were from downtown and we just saw an opportunity, and that's what really brought us here was our hometown roots. And from there, it just kind of blossomed. Everybody bought into it. I think our timing was good in 2005. Things are much different now. You know, we're on this is a podcast, we call it, right? We're on a podcast.
I said you can call it whatever you want, Scott.
Yeah,
so whatever.
we didn't even have cell phones back in the day, so everything was word of mouth. And we thought downtown Belleville would be a good spot, and it turned out to be awesome. And then things followed, like I had mentioned. Seven's Lounge was one of the places that followed immediately, and then Caravan on Main really helped the landscape. Wine Tap. You mentioned the Wine Tap. Your office was in that Wine Tap building. I would like to see that building do outstanding. But really, we came to downtown because we were just hometown boys and wanted to do good things locally. And we found an opportunity in a building. This building, like most buildings at that time in downtown Belleville, not in good shape. We were way over budget. We thought we'd come in and spend a couple $100,000 and open a business and be off to the races, and it worked out. We doubled that, and but it turned out with a great patio. The investment was worth it, and 18 years later, here we are, and we're doing good things. And I think the attraction of Belleville is there's always been an attraction to downtown Belleville. Belleville is, I'm going to give you a fun fact here, is I think Belleville is, you know, I went with fact and then said I think. I think Belleville is the largest city south of Springfield, Illinois. So the fact checkers out there on your podcast will dig right in there and find out if that's the case. But Belleville's always had a draw because we do have the St. Clair County Courthouse here. Business has always been here. So the dollars have always been here for the courthouse. I'm going to give you another example of something that was not good happen. The economics in downtown Belleville are always going to be up and down, like every downtown environment. We lost St. Elizabeth's Hospital, which was something that hurt we'll call it the lunch count downtown. There was a lot of people downtown, whether it would be doctors, nurses, visitors, sales reps. A lot of business was lost to that, but we really haven't lost momentum on that. Downtown Belleville's been doing great. An example of that is recently when, just a couple years ago, Benny Carr bought the bread company, a defunct eyesore property downtown that had cranked at one time. And he invested into that property. Brandon at the Quarter Restaurant, which is on East Main, opened up there in a spot that totally redid it into a New Orleans type theme. So we've got people investing dollars into downtown, and we're very fortunate to have it. And a big part of it is there is a lot of energy. Like I said, you could come downtown and you could run into any kind of festival or event. It doesn't, and I'm not just talking about the big ones like Chili Cook-Off, Oktoberfest, right. The Santa Claus Parade, St. Patrick's Day. All those Art on the Square, all those big ones we know about. But you know, Pride Fest went from June to October. There's a lot of things where they shut off the square and they're doing. I know there was an indie market in front of Sevens for a while. The Lincoln Theater has done an outstanding job of bringing in concerts. They recently had the Winona Judd concert, which was a sellout. They had. I'm going to hit a time and era. They had Candlebox recently, even though you guys are getting old. That's in your hot spot.
I remember. Yep, I remember.
A little 90s rock and roll alternative. So,
that's right.
The Lincoln Theater's really been bringing it. And so things are good downtown. I'll give you another place that's hot downtown. 2 places. It's a weird deal. We have 3 or 4 years ago, a place called Crafty Sugar Company opened up downtown. It's a cute little candy shop that sells ice cream, Clementine's ice cream, which is the best ice cream. Kind of a hometown creamery in St. Louis that's gone big time. Crafty Sugar opened up and is doing a good little business down there. And right next door to it is an escape room, 618 Escape. And then next to it on the corner, which was Jimmy John's, remember the Jimmy John's spot? Sugar Fix Bakery is there, and it's on the corner. And it's a great spot that's doing baked goods, lunches, breakfast. So we've got a good thing going with downtown breakfast. Speaking of breakfast and coffee, I mentioned Crafty Sugar and Sugar Fix there. Joe and Oni's right down the street from it is doing a great job with breakfast and coffee. Grim and Gorley down close to my block. Grim and Gorley has done a great job with their coffee shop. I think it's called 4322. They've been very busy. So whether it's early in the morning or late in the evening, downtown Belleville's doing big things and great things. And I appreciate you guys doing podcasts, shows, and things like that, promoting it, because it's been good. The movement's great.
Yeah, first off, according to the interwebs, I did just fact check you. You are correct. We are the largest South distributor, so you did have your facts correct. I just got to make sure we're delivering accurate information here,
Absolutely. We don't need anybody pulling the plug on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the actual full disclosure, I made sure I went from fact to maybe. Let's fact. And I know behind the scenes, you guys do have a crack staff back there. Propping you guys up, making you look good. I know you got the crew back there working hard, so thank you for that. And I'll try to get those facts right.
Yep.
One thing I want to expound on with what Scott said, too, is when him and Jimbo invested in downtown reciprocated that when they redid the streetscape early on in Big Daddy's history, because the street wasn't laid out for success when it first happened. So
and that's really, when they put in the overhead lights as well, too, right?
That's more recent. That's been in the last decade.
Sean brings up the streetscape happened first, and then the lights over the city, that came a little bit. I don't have my facts on that, but it was a couple of years, I believe, after the streetscape. And there was, that's funny you mentioned that. Sean mentioned the streetscape. The lighting across the streetscape. At one time back in the day, that was a little bit contentious. There was a group that didn't like the idea. That was one of those things that actually evolved, and it evolved in the right direction. I think a lot of the retailers and the bars and restaurants really wanted the lights. We're all familiar with lighting does, whether it's Vegas or Branson or whatever. Lighting brings element of excitement and safety and energy.
Right.
So the lights came a little bit after that, but Sean mentions a good point about the streetscape. The streetscape made it easy, not only for just the outdoor dining, but for the fun events. Logistically, it's easier for people to get around downtown. Our downtown is not only safe, but it's easy to move around. It is well lit. And we have walkways. The ballards, I'm not up on my construction talk. Ballards are what sit in front of the tables in front of the patio for safety. So those ballards they go up because Benny and Margarita's recently just were lucky enough to get the outdoor patio in co-op with the city, and they put the ballards out there. So the safety and the appeal of it is bringing people downtown, and downtown's exciting. Like I said, you guys are part of it. Not that we see you every weekend like we used to back in the day. We don't want to snitches get stitches, so we don't want to talk about the old days. But it is easier to get around downtown than it used to be. So it's very comfortable getting around downtown. So that's awesome.
It is. And I want to go back to the point you're talking about kind of earlier of a lot of businesses I don't want to say fear competition, but for them, it's not a good thing. They don't want somebody opening up something similar to them. But you guys, especially downtown, you guys welcome new restaurants, new ideas, new things in, because especially with the St. Elizabeth's leaving, right? It's a way to bring more people down. I mean, is that kind of the sense that you guys have?
Well, yes, good point. There is always a fear of competition between businesses. No business is comfortable with, you put together a product, you put an idea, and then someone copies that idea. Even though in the bar restaurant game, if you come up with a product, everybody's copying it. Okay, in every business, I guess they say the sincerest form of flattery is imitation. If
right.
you see a good idea, you want to expound on it. So there is a fear of competition, but in our case, I want to speak to Big Daddy's case specifically. When we didn't have these bar calls when we first started off, because there were no other bars and restaurants that we could be partnered with to do these fun events. So we are trying to fill the downtown properties with, empty storefronts are bad for business. So yes, we do recruit heavily as a business group to get people downtown. Competition is good. Healthy competition is good. But there's always a fear of competition because, you can only spread the pie so many ways. So, but there is more room for opportunity downtown Belleville for sure. There are some open spots, and us businesses, not only do we work together in terms of promoting ideas, we also work together in terms of recruiting businesses that we know will work, like going back to Crafty Sugar Company, which is my favorite spot. I just love Clementine's ice cream and sugary sodas and stuff like that. Downtown needed something like that. We were able to recruit that business and bring them downtown. It is a friend of mine who was moving back home, and we pitched an idea to him, and he had worked at a brewery in Seattle, as a matter of fact, for 20 years when he graduated college, and he was moving back home, one of those things, you move back home, and we recruited him he rented a building from Ronnie Phillips, who has several buildings downtown, and opened up Crafty Sugar Company. And so that was a business that other businesses recruited and were able to get him to come downtown. And like I said, that does bring other businesses. I mentioned Brandon from the Quarter. He owned a business out in Fairview Heights. He saw the good opportunity downtown Belleville here, and invested a lot of dollars in the building on, I believe it's the 100 block of East Main, and it's been outstanding. So those things all help, and we do need more businesses. We would like to have a few more retail shops downtown. I know you recently had Circa, Andrea from Circa, an unbelievable shop, does great little business down there, and she's always thinking of ways to get retail down here. Retail's a little tougher because, the Amazons, the Primes, I'm sure you guys get stuff delivered at your house. Things have changed in that regard. So recruiting businesses is very difficult. So, but we do all work together in doing so.
And that's one thing I want to touch on too, is even though it's separate, we're all on the same team, the bars and restaurants work really well with downtown doing these wine walks and other craft beer walks, so that those retail shops can get a little more of the pie and do something fun that's a little out of their element, just to get those extra foot traffic in there. And those are things that all the owners and people downtown kind of work together to generate more commerce for everybody.
Yeah, real quick on that, Belleville Main Street, once again, referring to our merchants group downtown, has done an awesome job of doing things like the Art and Wine Walk is a big one. The Craft Beer Walk is another one downtown. So the Belleville Main Street Committee, always check with BMS. If you could, everybody out there listening in podcast land, BMS is the Belleville Main Street Committee, and it might be BMC. I don't know if I got that right. Let's get our fact checkers back on it. What site they can pull up. I want to get the right information out there. So Belleville Main Street's done a great job with that. And once again, the businesses have all chipped in. Recently, we had, I don't know when this is going to air or how this works, but recently we just had the Downtown Witches Brew Walk.
I saw that.
The women-owned businesses downtown got together and did a Witches Brew Walk, and Connie Tilley at Venue on Main pioneered that movement on the Witches Walk, and it brought a lot of witches downtown on a Thursday night, which might not have been the busiest night, and the retailers stayed open, and they had good nights because of it. So that's another thing that is always going downtown. Like I said, you can walk downtown and find anything at any time going on in downtown Belleville, and it's pretty cool. Real cool. We like it.
Well, I think it's as time goes on, I think these events draw people, I don't want to say back to Belleville, but let's be honest, you got some people that might have moved away to, say, Millstadt, Smith, and Freeburg. They might have grew up here, but they still all come together and come back to Belleville for these events because it's just a good setting and they're good events. If they weren't good events, people wouldn't come.
Yes. Good point on that, Steve. You like that? Good point. Just throwing it back at you there. You threw me a batting practice fastball on this one.
That's right. We'll try our best.
It's funny you say that. We have had quite a lot of reunions downtown. At Tavern on Main this 2 weeks ago, they had a reunion. I think it was like a 50-year reunion for Belleville, several Belleville schools. And they had a tent, and they shut the city, shut down the street, and had a big event. And people come downtown for these class reunions. We have one this upcoming Saturday for a 20-year reunion. When people come back to downtown Belleville, it's funny, they do take a walk, and they are surprised when they've not been to downtown Belleville in the last 15, 20 years. They've come back for a class reunion. It's amazing as we get older, and you guys are in that category now of getting older. People move away, they come back. You catch up on old times. They're not used to saying, hey, let's go downtown. Downtown looks different than it did 10 years ago. And it looks way different than it did look 18 years ago. So people comment constantly on how, wow, this isn't what it looked like when we left Belleville. Right. And it's a big thing with the reunion crowd around the holidays as well. Because we see people that have been, I ran into someone that I haven't seen in 15 years at a reunion here a couple months ago. It was in the summer, a beautiful day. And he's like, wow, you can hear music all up and down the street, Scott. And I'm like, yes, you can. At 3 different places, he counted. He goes, there was live music at 5 places. We don't have live music here at Big Daddy's too often. We have a DJ. He was shocked at how much live music there was downtown. And he goes, when did this happen? And I'm like, well, it happened over a course of time. It didn't just happen all at once. It happened over since I've been here 18 years. But the live music movements really happened in the last 5 years. And so that's been really cool. So people are shocked when they come back downtown Belleville and they see the energy of downtown and how awesome it looks, how clean it looks, how safe it is compared to other downtown areas. So I do really enjoy that, and I always try to have extra 618 gear laying around because when people come back after a visit, I'll try to give them something 618 gear to take back home, and they'll send me a pic of them wearing it when they're back in wherever they're from. Like recently, I had a friend that lives in Colorado come in town, and I gave him a 618 shirt, and he wore it at his hometown and took a picture of it. And of course, he asked me for another one because his college kid jacked it because he wanted to take it back to college where he was and represent. So we got a lot of people representing the 618, and it's really cool. We've created a nice brand here and a nice brand downtown, and downtown, like I said, I'm just going to keep, as long as you're going to have me on this podcast, I'm going to keep promoting downtown. That's what I'm all about. But not just downtown. I mean, Belleville as a whole. Belleville as a whole has been doing good, but I try to focus on downtown and the merchants here and really pump some life down here. So that's what I'm going to keep doing. As long as you keep me on, that's what we're going to do here.
Scott, I think you said it perfect. I mean, you can obviously hear your passion in what you talk about with downtown Belleville. I mean, Steve and I both grew up downtown Belleville. It's just the thing you hear from every business owner down there is exactly that passion that you have. They grew up in Belleville. They love it. Like you said, the change in scenery down there has just been unbelievable, the commitment. So, no, you can hear the passion. Appreciate you being down there. And, Stephen, if you're not doing anything, I will be in attendance at Big Daddy's Saturday at that reunion because that is the Weiss reunion. So
Yes, you know that is awesome about your reunion this Saturday. The weatherman has dialed up the most perfect day possible for your Saturday reunion.
Yeah.
I met with your reunion. It's funny. There's a Big Daddy's tie to your reunion in downtown. Brittany, I believe her last name is Herring. It was Kirchhoff.
Yep.
And she worked here, and she's part of this class. And Andrea Brockman. I'm just throwing out names. Sean and Sean worked with them very closely. Sean is that same age, class of 2002.
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
Kirchhoff worked here. Andrea Brockman worked here. Christina Lauf worked here. You might know
yeah.
Katie Dula. I don't think she
Yeah.
worked
We're throwing some names. No,
Yeah.
So
I'm throwing out some Belleville royalties. Those fabulous young ladies all worked here when we first opened, and we were really busy when they first opened.
Yeah.
And they were a part of the Big Daddy's thing, and I'm thrilled that as the cycle of life has moved on, they worked here 16, 17 years ago, and now they're having their 20-year class reunion here. So really looking forward to that, and glad you're going to be here. And I know with you being here, the legions of fans that you might bring to our business downtown is really going to be appreciated by. I'm going to go back to everybody downtown is going to appreciate your big fan group coming down here also. And
I'll make sure.
Awesome.
I'll make sure Eric's got some extra T-shirts of the podcast to give out to people.
absolutely.
Yeah, we got Sharpies and 618 shirts. We can sign them.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely.
Sounds good because that, like I said, my wife was in the 02 class, but ironically, a lot of the 02 married a lot of us 03 grads. So all the 03, all the 03 guys, Brittany's husband Eddie, we just go hang out in a corner and let the 02 party, and we keep it the 03s.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we had there's a committee there's a reunion committee. They came up here a couple days ago to talk business and get the lay of the land and figure out where the party's at. And I just said, the whole place is yours. And they're like, great, we'll be here. And they were very excited about it. So we'll look forward to having you. One thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to circle back on something about downtown and Belleville specifically. Sean and I have both, we put on a lot of festivals and events. I would like to say in 2014 is really when the St. Patrick's Day became a big deal. It was the first St. Patrick's Day block party. The parade through downtown Belleville had been growing through the years with the Hibernians and the Murphy family and the Bailey family, and I'm missing one of the original families. But downtown really started to blow up with these festivals and events with Art on the Square, Chili Cook-Off, Oktoberfest, St. Patrick's Day. I have been recruited by many cities around. Sean has also, because we put on these events. We used to do a Brew and Q barbecue event here in downtown. And it was the craft beer walk with the barbecue event. And that's where our craft beer walk originated. And we still have the craft beer walk that goes every year. The Brew and Q, we have not brought that back. But a lot of cities back in the day, especially 10 years ago, they were recruiting me and Sean. Hey, would you have one of these Brew and Q events in our city? Like, I had a friend in O'Fallon that was before O'Fallon really got going with their festivals and events, which they do have a little bit more of now. Before our Edwardsville store really got going, I had a representative up there asking me if we could put an event up there. In Collinsville, I think it's Code 3 Spices Barbecue started a couple years ago. A lot of events have been created in other areas due to the success of the events that originated downtown. And that's something that I wanted to mention. It's always nice when you see somebody doing something and, they've come to us for advice on running these events. And it's always nice when you see something going well somewhere else, but it reaffirms people are coming downtown for these festivals and events, and it brings people from St. Louis. It brings people from Nashville, Illinois. I had a great conversation over the Chili Cook-Off with someone from Nashville, Illinois, and they were having a little local chili municipality chili cook-off coming up, and they were thrilled to come down and wanted to see how a great Wendy at the Chamber does with the chili cook-off. They just wanted to come and see it and be a part of it. So we have a lot of out-of-towners. I mean, a lot of out-of-towners coming from far and wide on these festivals and events. Yeah, Sean is actually from the Troy area, and he's done a couple things up in Troy with his reunions and stuff up there. So we're getting a lot of people hitting us up for ideas and want to know how we handle festivals and events. So it's always fun when you get somebody wanting to come to you and get some information on how to really put something together. So downtown Belleville excels at that, and we see a lot of out-of-towners because of it, and that's another really cool thing.
Well, hey, look, we're coming up here in a little over 35 minutes or so we want to be respectful of your guys' time. We really appreciate you coming on. I will say maybe I was class of 2002 at West, so I knew a lot of those Althoff 2002 people. Maybe I'll crash their reunion because I don't even know if I'm having one this year. I don't pay attention to anything, so maybe you'll see me Saturday night. Who knows?
Hey, that's a great thing about reunions at this age that we're in. Reunions aren't about just the class you're in. It's anytime you're having a reunion, it's a couple classes above and below that come because you don't get to see people coming in town. We all have schedules and lives and whatever. So these events turn into East, West, Althoff, O'Fallon. Like I said, we just want you to know, Mr. Sedlak, you're invited downtown at any time at any reunion. Everybody would be happy to see you. Okay, everybody.
As long as he doesn't show up on that camera footage we were talking about earlier.
I agree.
Next time, I don't want to hog the camera here, but anytime you have questions about downtown or want to promote commerce, there's a lot of people other than me. Obviously, I'm willing to talk about downtown anytime, but there's a lot of people downtown that would love to be on the podcast. And, of course, me and Sean, we'd make another appearance. I asked Sean before. I didn't know what I was looking for a camera crew and whatever.
You're giving us too much credit here.
Well, I had to ask Sean. I go, I can't cuss or say anything. Well, I think podcasts are different, but try to keep it clean. So we kept it clean and did our best, and we can't promise on the next one. But please have us back. We enjoyed it, and happy to talk downtown shop with you guys anytime.
No, we appreciate it. We really do. We love boasting downtown as best we can, and we're happy to have anybody else that's interested in hopping on to discuss it as well too.
Hey, let me ask you this: can you post this? Do you post this out? I'm not very good with social medias. That's why Sean's here to help me. Will you guys post this?
You've told me that many times. So yes, we will.
Will you post this out on like Facebook? And
it'll be out this. Yeah, we'll get it out this week. That way you can post it out there before for the reunion this weekend as well too. So I'd probably say I think Chamber will push it out probably Wednesday or so. So should be out by then. But yeah, we'll get you it and we'd love you sharing it. And the more listeners we get, the more it promotes downtown and just Belleville in general.
Awesome. We'll promote it also. So thanks a lot. And we'll see you guys soon. And the next thing we got downtown is the Halloween pub crawl on October 29th, downtown Belleville. Halloween has been very good to downtown Belleville. Even through the pandemic, the Halloween thing always seemed to, even when we had an opportunity through the pandemic when there was that slight window to be open, Halloween has been good downtown. The Witches Brew Walk was great. Halloween's going to be good coming up. So that's the next thing we have downtown. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Maybe next time we'll have our own camera crew and everything, so we'll get you on next time.
Bring it on.
All right.
We'll be ready.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Have a good day.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce.